France deleted Windows, not a startup, not one guy on Reddit with a home lad. The city of Lyon, one of the biggest cities in France, publicly announced it was removing Microsoft from its government machines and replacing it with open source. Denmark started doing the same thing inside a government ministry. A German state started moving 30,000 workstations off the Microsoft stack. And the whole internet turned it into a Linux video. Here's the part almost nobody covered, and it's the part that affects your paycheck. In July of this year, Airbus announced it was moving its most critical applications off Amazon Web Services, not a test workload, manufacturing systems. ERP, CRM, 900 applications in the plan, starting with 70 that are running on AWS right now. I want you all to sit for that for a second. Airbus is not a company that experiments with its production systems, and they looked at the biggest cloud provider on earth and said, this is coming off. So no, this is not a Linux story. Linux is the costume. The actual story is that the largest company in the world are moving infrastructure again. And every single time infrastructure moves, a small group of engineers get paid an absurd amount of money to move it. And everybody else finds out 2 years later when the job postings dry up. In this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what happened with the receipts on screen. I'm gonna show you the number Amazon spent that proves they know this is real. Then I'm gonna show you the specific job this creates, what it pays, and how you position yourself for it in 90 days without another certification. Let's start with the timeline because it's faster than you think. June 23rd, 2025, the city of Lyon officially announced it is replacing Microsoft software, only Office for documents, Linux and PostgreSQL for the systems and databases. Their words for the reasons were digital sovereignty. Their words on the cause from the person who ran it were that the solution cost 3 times less than Office 365. That same month, Denmark, the Ministry of Digitalization, starts phasing out Microsoft Office, moving staff onto open source, and the Digital Affairs Minister says it out loud, this is about sovereignty. Before both of those, Schleswig-Holstein in Germany, 30,000 government workstations, they started with the Office suite. Then they replaced the mail system, and they have been ripping the stack out piece by piece since 2024. Every one of those is a government and easy to dismiss. Governments are slow, governments are political. That is not your job market. Then, July 16, 2026, Airbus selects a French cloud provider called Scaleway to host its most critical applications. The head of Digital Airbus says the goal is to host the applications required for what she called the minimum viable company. 900 applications and 70 of them are being moved off AWS to start. And I want to be honest about the details because you'll look stupid in an interview if you overstate this. Airbus did not delete AWS. They said they are keeping Skywise, their aviation data platform, on AWS. They still use Microsoft and Google for productivity, and they still use Salesforce and Workday. Their own words were that they balanced their choices based on how critical the data is. That nuance is actually the whole point. This is not a boycott, it is a re-architecture. Somebody has to sit down, look at 900 applications, and decide which one moves, where they go, and how they get there without stopping an aircraft manufacturer for a single day. That somebody is an engineer. That is a job, and it's not a junior one. So why is this happening right now? It's not because Linux got better this year. Linux was fine 10 years ago. It really isn't about money either, even though the money helped. It is about control. Every one of those organizations came to the same conclusion, which is that their most important systems were sitting inside a company in a country they do not control. Under laws they did not write. And once you say that sentence out loud in a board meeting, somebody has to do something about it. Now, this is why you should care. I've seen infrastructure move twice in one career, and the first move was on-prem to cloud. Companies had their own servers in their own buildings, and over about a decade, they picked all of it up and moved it to AWS and Azure and GCP. And a very specific thing happened to compensation during that window. The engineers who could move workloads got paid like specialists because there were no supply of people who have done it. Everybody else stayed on the old salary band and watched. That's the entire reason cloud engineer pays what it pays, not because technology is hard, but because the migration was urgent and the supply was small. That window closed and cloud became normal. Salaries flattened for anyone who just knows services, which is why you have 150,000 ceiling and a wall of certifications and no idea why the two do not connect. What I'm telling you is that the second window just opened, and it's not on-prem to cloud this time. It's cloud to the right cloud. Sovereign regions, private cloud, workloads coming back in-house, workloads moving between providers, same shape, same urgency, same tiny supply of people who's actually done it. You didn't miss the first wave because you were not good enough. You missed it because you did not know it was happening. And you're being told about this one in advance. Now, you should never take a trend seriously because a journalist said it. Take it serious when somebody spends money on it. January 15, 2026, Amazon makes the AWS European Sovereign Cloud generally available, the first region in Brandenburg, Germany, physically and logically separate infrastructure, all of it inside the EU, designed to keep running even if the connection to the rest of the world gets out. The investment behind it, 7.8 billion euros. Yes, read that again. Amazon spent 7.8 billion euros building a version of Amazon that exists specifically because customers do not trust normal Amazon with their most sensitive workloads. That is not marketing. Nobody spends that to make a press release. That is the biggest infrastructure company in the world looking at the same trend and buying insurance against it with a number that has a B in it. And it's not only a Europe story, so you don't want to tune out if you're sitting in the United States. Look at what enterprise are doing with their workloads. In 2026, private cloud research, half of the enterprise say they've already moved some workloads back off public cloud, up 15 points in a single year. A third more are even considering it. 97% of IT leaders believe some of their public cloud spend is wasted, and more than half believe the waste is over 25%. 25% of an enterprise cloud bill, and it's not a rounding error. That is a headcount. That is a project. That is somebody being hired to go fix it. And the workloads that's moving are exactly the sensitive ones. Compliance heavy, data heavy, business critical, which means the person who moves them has to be trusted, which means they cannot hire the cheapest possible person to do it. So put the two facts next to each other. Amazon is spending billions to build sovereign infrastructure, and enterprise are simultaneously pulling workloads back for cost and control, and both of those are the same job. Something is moving and somebody has to move it safely. Let me pause here and I'm going to be straight with you. Knowing about a trend does not pay you, and I need you to really hear that, because there is a certain kind of person who watches videos like this, they feel informed and does absolutely nothing different on Monday. So you're probably already technically strong and you're earning around $100,000 to $150,000 a year, maybe even $200,000, and your problem was never information. Your problem is that you're invisible to the exact companies that are about to spend a lot of money solving this. So you're going to read about it instead of actually being paid for it. This is the whole thing that we do here at the 1% University. We take engineers who already have the ability and we're fixing the positioning so that you can get multiple projects that can pay you $300,000 to $500,000 a year coming to you instead of sending applications in a stack of 900 people. If that's where you're stuck, the link is in the description below. Go ahead and apply, and if you do qualify, me and my team, we're going to talk with you. We're going to see where you are and how to get you to that next level. Now, let me show you the actual job. Here's what these roles look like and where they get posted, and I want you to notice how strange they are. The titles vary: Sovereign Cloud Engineer, Cloud Migration Engineer, Platform Engineer with the date residency line in the description, Cloud Security Engineer on the Sovereignty program. Now look at what they actually ask for: building and operating workloads in isolated regions, network designs, and egress control, because in a sovereign environment, the question is not just can the traffic get there, but is it where the traffic is allowed to go? Key management and key custody, who holds the encryption keys, and can the provider technically read your data even if they're not promised to? Identity and access design across two clouds at once during a migration, pipeline that respects data residency so a build cannot accidentally deploy something into the wrong region. Then the part that is not technical at all, they want you to be able to translate a regulation into a control. Somebody hands you a legal requirement and you have to say, in the system, that means this bucket policy, this key, this region, this log, that is the whole role. And here is why it pays. Almost nobody has 5 years of experience in this because the thing itself is about 2 years old. The sovereign region became generally available in January. The requirement is brand new. So the usual gatekeeping question, how many years have you done this, cannot be asked because the honest answer for the entire market is not many. And I want you to understand how rare that is. 90% of the time in this industry, you are competing against people with a decade of history you cannot manufacture. In a brand new lane, everyone is at the same starting line. And the person who gets paid is the person who can show they have done it once and can explain it clearly. So let's go ahead and make this concrete, because I don't want this to be a video where you feel smart and nothing changes. First, go ahead and build the migration yourself, not a tutorial, and take a small system you already have, something with a database and an application, a pipeline, and next go ahead and pick 2 providers or a cloud and a machine you control, and physically move the workload from one to the other. Move the database, move the secrets, and go ahead and keep it running while you do it. And then do the thing that almost nobody does, write down what broke, because things are going to break. Your DNS cutover will be wrong, your egress cost will surprise you, some hard-coded endpoint will be sitting in the config file, and every single one of those failures is an interview answer, and you cannot get them from a course. Second, learn the vocabulary of control. You need to be able to talk about where the data physically lives, who holds the keys, and what leaves the network, and also what gets logged. If you can walk into a room and say, here is our data residency boundary, and here is who can technically access these keys, you sound like the person that they've been trying to hire for 6 months. Third, mine the position, do some digging. The same method I always give you, pull up 20 job postings from the roles that you actually want, and do not read them for requirements, read them for systems. The same 4 to 5 nouns, Terraform, Kubernetes, a key management services, a pipeline, a compliance framework, that repetition is your syllabus. Everything else in the posting is just noise. Fourth, and this is the one that actually converts, change what you say you are. Not a cloud engineer, you already are one and it hasn't moved your salary. You're an engineer who moves critical workloads between environments without downtime. Now that is a different sentence and it describes the same person in only one of those 2 sentences. It's pretty much scarce right now. 90 days is enough for all of that. It's not enough to become an expert, but it's enough to become the one candidate in the pile who actually has done it once. Now, let me tell you what's gonna happen to most people that's watching this video. And I say this with love because I did it myself. You're gonna feel the urgency and then you're going to go looking for a certification in it. You're gonna search for a sovereign cloud certification, or you will decide you should probably finish the security specialist first. And you're gonna spend the next 4 months studying while the window is open and the positions are live. I spent $3,000 on certifications, months studying, and not a single one of them got me an offer letter. Certifications are documentation gets you in the room, but projects is the thing that's actually going to get you the job. And even if that's not the real problem, I'm going to talk about my student Isaac. Isaac sent over 10,000 applications and got 0 offers. He was a former Amazon employee, so it really wasn't about his skill set or ability. Nothing about his technical skills changed after that, but what changed was how he positioned himself in the market and how he handled the room once he was in it. He collected over $970,000 in offer letters within 6 months, and recruiters were coming to him. And even one of those conversations became an offer letter within 24 hours. It's the same engineer, but he positioned himself differently in the market. And this is why I get frustrated when people treat news like it's trivia. Airbus moving 900 application is not trivia, it's literally a purchase order, and somebody is going to get paid to do that work at Airbus and the next 200 companies that copy them. And the deciding factor would not be about who knew about it first, but who positioned themselves to be called. Cloud engineering is literally a cheat code to financial freedom, but only if you treat it like a business. It's marketing and sales applied to a high income leveraged skill set, and the skill set is the easy part. You probably already have the skill set, and so let's take a step back and let's bring this home. There's 3 things. 1, this was never a Linux story. They all have the same story. Lyon, Denmark, Germany, and Airbus, they all have the same story, which is control. And control means somebody has to physically move the infrastructure again. 2, you want to follow the money and not the headlines. Amazon spent 7.8 billion euros building sovereign infrastructure in Europe, and half of enterprises have already pulled some workloads back off public cloud, and both of those are the same job postings written in 2 different ways. 3, this lane is new enough that nobody can gatekeep it with the years of experience. Move one workload yourself, document what broke, learn the language of control, and change the sentence you use to describe what you do. And if the real problem is that you're already good and nobody's calling you, this is exactly what we fix here at the 1% University. The link is in the description below. Go ahead and apply, and me and my team will reach out to you to see if it's a good fit. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.